If I asked you to quickly name a smartwatch, most people would probably reply with one particular brand. And while Apple's mini wrist computer is certainly popular and well known, there's a host of other options out there. One of the latest is from Huawei. Huawei Watch GT 3 Pro. I'm Erin from TechGadgetsCanada.com, and this is my first experience with a Huawei product. So in this review, I'll take a look at what the Watch GT 3 Pro is like, its design, features, its metrics, and overall if I think it's a good device for you. An early heads up, if you end up liking this video and finding it helpful, to please hit that like button or consider becoming a subscriber. Both those things do help me keep making more videos that I hope everyone out there can watch, enjoy, and learn from. The Huawei Watch GT 3 Pro comes in two sizes, a larger 46mm size and a smaller 43mm option. Initially I tried the 46, but I found it much too large and heavy for my wrists, even though I do like a big watch face, so I sized down. There's a silver titanium option and the white ceramic version. The white ceramic version has a really nice white bezel around the face that helps it blend in a lot better and actually makes the face look bigger. The stainless steel version, by comparison, has a black ring around the face that seems to make the smart screen look even smaller. Whichever one you choose, there's a color touch screen that you can customize with a variety of free and paid watch faces. There's also some buttons on the side for certain functions. Using the dial, you can zoom in or out, while the other button is a quick launch for some of the apps and functions, and you can customize them. The bands are high quality with a locking mechanism and the ability to add or remove links to size it to your wrist. A word about those watch faces. There's not a huge selection of faces you can get for free. Some of the best ones do cost a few bucks, but I was able to find enough options to make both the titanium and the ceramic watches fit my personal style. Huawei says both models boast new and improved capabilities, like a 30% increase in charging speed, increased water resistance designed for sport diving, and better heart rate monitoring technology. Since this is my first experience with a Huawei watch, I'm not in a position to compare and will have to take the company's word for this. The battery life is also a flabbergasting 14 days, which should make any Apple executive cry, since they haven't figured out how to get beyond 8 or 12 hours yet. Since this is a smart watch, it can also share notifications from your phone, and you can use it to make or receive calls, and it'll track your steps and activity too. More on these coming up. The watch also has not just water resistance, it is IP68 rated, but the ability to withstand free diving up to 30 meters. It's a great watch then for those who like to be out on the water. Getting the Huawei Watch GT 3 Pro set up was easy enough. You do need to download the Huawei Health app, which will assist with the setup and act as your data center. I had to agree to share a lot of personal information, including my cell phone number, in order to sign up for my Huawei Health account, and I had to grant access to the microphone. Given that Huawei's been in the news a lot lately amid allegations of being a Chinese government-connected company with designs on spying, I was naturally a bit concerned about granting so much access, but in the interests of sharing a full review experience, I forged ahead. I was set up and ready to go fairly quickly. The screen on the Huawei Watch GT 3 Pro is really nice, particularly when it stays on, which initially it really did not. The watch screen will come on when you raise your wrist, but otherwise it's been going, as you can see, maddeningly dark. I even experimented a bit with the screen on settings, which seem to indicate that the watch should stay on for up to 15 minutes at a time, except that it didn't. Even with this feature toggled on, the watch face was shutting off, as you've seen there, in seconds. Now, I know that having the screen on constantly is going to drain the battery much faster, but with a watch like this designed to look like a watch and less like a smartwatch, having that always on screen helps with the dupe, and in this case it just wasn't delivering. I decided to dig a little deeper on why not. I had to get some help from Huawei here. There's two very similar settings within two different menus. There's watch face and home, and display and brightness. I thought I wanted display and brightness and adjusted the screen on setting. Turns out though, I needed to go back and go to watch face and home and what's called AOD, and it turns out this stands for always on display. With that toggled on, I finally got my screen to stay on, but you don't always get your main screen. It defaults to a dark mode version, and with that dark mode, you really only get a couple of different options. Not ideal, but that is what to know and how to adjust it. One annoyance I noticed right away is that the microphone seems to stay connected to my phone even when it's not in use, and it doesn't allow my Apple iPhone, which I am testing it with, to override it if I want to invoke Siri, for example. It actually takes about 10 seconds for the phone to somehow reroute the mic so I can dictate messages or emails, an annoying side effect that I can't see how to disable. Like many smartwatches, you get fitness and activity data too. It'll track steps, distance, floors climbed, sleep, your heart rate. It'll even measure stress. It can also do blood oxygen, or SpO2, your blood pressure, and skin temperature. So are these Huawei watches accurate? I used them to track my sleep and steps primarily, and for a comparison, I also wore my Apple Watch. I'd say it's at least as accurate as the Apple Watch, with only tiny discrepancies between them for step count, sleep, and heart rate. When it came to the blood pressure, I was able to get one reading, then never again. The app would just tell me that the watch wasn't paired with anything, so I'd follow the prompts to reconnect it, but it was a loop that never allowed me to finish that connection. I wore one of the watches for about 3 weeks, and I did try the larger version first before downsizing to the smaller, more ladylike version. The watches are both gorgeous and look a lot more like crafted timepieces than smartwatches, which is a refreshing change. The watch faces are also quite believable and look really realistic. As I noted earlier, I used the Huawei Watch GT 3 Pro with an Apple iPhone 13. It was able to send me my text and iMessage notifications right to my watch, which I thought was pretty cool. I did feel the notifications, though, were very weak, and I ended up missing them frequently despite my choice of what's called strong vibration notifications. If I have a suggestion for Huawei's designers, it's to bolster this feature and make those alerts a little more powerful. The list of compatible apps that will send notifications is limited. These include Messages, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, Messenger, Netflix. I also got notifications from my Ring security system too. Compared to something like an Apple Watch, which will basically notify you from almost any app on your phone if you want that, this is more limited, but what is here did work well. While weather at a glance is an option on this watch, the feature only worked intermittently for me. Sometimes I'd get my local weather and forecast information right on my wrist, and sometimes I wouldn't. After using the watch for a few weeks, it seems the problem is that the weather widget doesn't update unless you have the Huawei Health app open and running, or have at least synced it at some point during the day. Again, not ideal. When it came to phone calls, I was able to both make and receive calls on my Huawei Watch GT 3 Pro, and the calls sounded pretty good. That was a nice feature that's handy when your hands are full. The battery life on this watch blew me away. Huawei says it's built to deliver 2 weeks of life on a charge, and I can say that's pretty accurate. In my first couple weeks of use, I left it on its default settings and easily got 7 days out of it before I decided to recharge it, only because I was going on a trip and didn't want to pack the charger. So with a full battery, I was able to get the full 9 days without needing any recharge. Upon arriving home, I checked and I still had 56% battery. A full charge takes an astoundingly quick 85 minutes, and you can fast charge it to about 25% battery in about 10 minutes. This is heroically good and easily the longest lasting and fastest charging smartwatch I have ever tried. I'll spend a bit of time here on what's either an obvious or an awkward question. Is Huawei spying on me? There has been plenty of press over the last few years about all the concern that various governments have with Huawei. For my part, I don't think a massive Chinese multinational company has much interest in covertly surveilling tech bloggers and average Canadians. So do I think the company was listening to me using the watch? No. Would I ever know if they actually were? Probably not. Either way, I'm not worried about it. I'm just enjoying the watch. Overall, this watch is a study in contrasts. It looks spectacular and much more high-end than pretty much any other smartwatch out there. The battery life is absolutely stellar, and it's miles above every other smartwatch on the market. The watch faces look realistic, and they display a lot of information at a glance. It gives me texts and phone calls from my iPhone, as well as other app information too. And its key health and activity tracking features work really well and seem to be quite accurate. What are the downsides? The watch appeared to impair the use of my phone's microphone, which made accessing Siri or using voice dictation all but impossible for me. I had some trouble keeping the notifications, health metrics, and weather connected and updated, and I couldn't get the blood pressure to work. Some of the settings are also not intuitive, like the always-on display. If you can live with the quirks, this is a pretty sharp timepiece. If you're looking for full integration and seamlessness, this might not be the watch for you. The Huawei Watch GT 3 Pro Titanium Edition here starts at $548 Canadian dollars, and the white ceramic version starts at about $798 Canadian. If you want to read this review or reference any of what I've talked about here, head over to techgadgetscanada.com for the full write-up. There you can ask me any questions you have about these watches. You can also, of course, post them here in comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Erin. Until the next time, you can find me on either Twitter or Instagram. I'm at ErinLYYC. You can also always catch me on Facebook at facebook.com/techgadgetscanada.